After dark, baby.
Don't do it.
Who would you prefer at left back in today's game? Malang Sarr or Saul?
Depends who's playing right back.
Are you in a back four or a back five?
No, today. Just today with whatever's given. Would you have rather had Malang Sarr or Saul?
Sorry. The debate becomes more fuzzy to me when it's left wing back and who do you play there? But in a back four left back, I choose Sar.
Were we playing a left? Or were we playing a four at the back today? I couldn't tell if Ziyech was that weird hybrid or not.
Yeah, we were. At least that's how they lined us up on who scored. But I mean, we flow in and out of it. I mean, because Jorginho drops so far back sometimes, you could argue he's in. I mean, you're splitting hairs. It doesn't matter. But I thought it was a four. But
In a back four, I think Malang Sarr is best. In a back three, I'd go Saul.
As a left back or a left wing back?
Left wing back.
Me too.
I don't know. And so that's the biggest thing. It's like it's so tough with how Tuchel runs the team. You don't know what formation he's going, right? We've talked about this before. Oh, it looks like somebody's so-and-so, and then all of a sudden they're absolutely not. Like they're in a complete different position. I think it's tough. For me, I think Saul at a left back would have done better, especially if you're relying on that left back to like move forward and put in good or relatively good crosses, right? I don't trust Malang Sarr to put in a good cross if his life depended on it.
Nope, me either.
And you have Rudy behind him, which he's been covering Alonso's ass for God knows how long, so he's used to it. Malang Sarr does give you that pace and that defensive option. Saul doesn't necessarily do that same job. I think he got it right. I think Tuchel got it right today. But at the same time, depending on what he was trying to do, and at least early on, try and get on that left side a little bit more, I think Saul would have been a better option.
Yeah,
it could have been one of those like Saul for the first 60 minutes and then Malang Sarr at the last half, or vice versa. It really could have been either or.
I actually thought Sar had a really nice game. All things considered, I thought he played pretty well.
Yeah, he wasn't awful. I mean, but with the back four, he wasn't required to come up into the attack, which was good. So we didn't have to see him sky balls to the moon.
Right, but even when he did, like, there's like the defense is not going to take that as a threat. So you at least have the threat, and you're at least going to pull defenders. Again, we've seen multiple times a step makes a difference, right? Even if you pull somebody a step, you make them hesitate for just a second, it's going to cause damage, right? That's how Kai scored his goal, right? Burn made a move forward and then had to try and track back. Like, you just need that split second to do it. And I think that Saul would have done a better job in the attacking front. And I don't think a lot was required out of him in the defensive front. Like, I don't see a huge defensive shift if Saul is out there versus Malang Sarr.
Yeah. I don't know what was asked of that. So, I don't know how Tuchel kind of has his talks and everything. That's the other like interesting thing is, we sit and analyze of how we kind of think things should go, and they've they might be doing their job as directed, and we, yeah,
And we're just here bullshitting.
So
yeah.
let me ask you guys this, because I've seen conflicting reports on this. Speaking of Saul, do you bring him back? Do you execute a purchase on him? Assuming that we're allowed to.
I mean, are you assuming like we have the ability to do that and not sign anyone else?
I don't know.
Because it changes the argument. Because if you can re-sign players or execute contracts that are sort of live with you, but you can't go get anyone new, it changes the conversation.
So essentially like the transfer ban, but we had Kovacic on loan and then made that permanent kind of thing.
Yeah, I think then you do.
No, but let's say we're going to have a free market in summer.
Then no.
Matt?
Yes.
Ooh, okay. Now I want to hear both of your guys' reasons.
Go ahead.
Who else do you have at left back besides Ben Chilwell if we are all assuming and hoping that Marcus Alonso gets sold?
I'm not.
I think that's Parker's argument, though, is that you could buy someone.
Well,
I
we
would
have
rather
a
go-
17-year-old, Dylan Williams. You're gonna trust a 17-year-old. Okay, fine. I'll take Lewis Hall. But like so you have Saul who can play multiple positions. He's slotted into so many different roles. He is your kind of makeshift Jorginho, which there are talks that Sarri wants him at Napoli or wherever the fuck he is now. Like, fine. I'm good with selling Jorginho. I know he had the great pass. Collins, I know that you were just dying to bring that up. And my response is, it's about fucking time. It's about fucking time. Like, I'm not going to deny it. It was such a gorgeous ball. It was so good. Like, it really was. But Kai had to do the rest, right? That Velcro foot, like that. Oh, it was.
Come on.
It was a dirty pass. It was a dirtier finish. It really was.
It was, but we're not having the Jorginho debate today.
No, all props to Jorginho. But I'm saying if Jorginho does want to go back and play with Sarri and play Sarri ball, back passes galore. I think Bob Bradley might have an option there.
You're just baiting me into this.
Oh,
just get to your point.
That's what I do. I have to bait you in.
I just keep drinking.
I think Saul would be a good option as a Jorginho replacement because he is able to distribute. He can handle that pressure. N'Golo Kante can't. He is not a distributor. He is just run. Conor Gallagher is, I would say, more of a pressing midfielder. Billy G, as much as I love him, I think he would get rattled real quick early on. But I think Saul would be a good fit in that type of role. And we've seen what happens when you play both of them together. It doesn't work well. Collins.
I'll go.
Thank you.
I'll go from there. Just to take the steam out of Collins. Look, as a utility player, I think Saul's fine, but he's nothing more than that for me. He's an all right sort of utility, kind of can slot into a couple of different positions, and that's fine. I don't think he's a left back. by trade. I think he can play anything from left wing back to sort of holding midfield, and that's kind of where it runs out. If that's what I'm getting, I would rather take like a Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Personally, I think he's just a better version of that, and he's a Chelsea guy, so I would just take that over him. I just don't. He's not a starter, and he's an all right utility. But I'm the last, I don't know, 4 matches I've been more impressed with what Saul brings to the table. I just don't think he's great. And it was a decent trial period. He's had a large enough sample size where he's played in enough matches and featured enough times that it's just I wouldn't resell him, or I would resell him or not take it up, or however you want to look at it, and be done with it, kind of wash your hands with it. And I think the transfer market and who you have more than makes up for that.
Man, we've done enough of these pod after darks where it's just primarily me and Matt yelling at each other about stuff that I'm going to take a drink to this, because, man, I agree with you on everything. 100% I agree with you. Saul is Jorginho, and Jorginho is Saul, except Saul's younger. Saul can play more positions. And we've seen it in the past, and we've commented on it in the past, that like anytime Saul plays that holding mid, plays that pivot role, he excels. He does really well. He does well distributing. He doesn't necessarily back pass as much as Jorginho would. And again, I'm not getting Jorginho debates, Matt. So just just know that.
I understand the back pass. Like I get it.
But Jorginho is 30. He has interest from another club in Italy who is probably willing to pay what he's worth. And the reports have come out this week, and which is funny for him. Reports have come out that due to the uncertainty of the ownership, that he's not certain he wants to stay at Chelsea. Which even Big Rom has come out and said, "Oh yeah, everyone needs to stay together." Yeah, I love Inter, but let's all hug. We love Chelsea. Like, yeah, fuck off, Rom. But
I'm appalled you would even suggest that.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh, okay. That's another topic. Before I get sidetracked on that, Saul is Jorginho, and if you can sell Jorginho and third place in the Ballon d'Or, get 40 million for him, 50 maybe pushing it, but probably 40. You can reinvest that elsewhere, because right now you don't have another Jorginho. You don't have another pivot in this team, even with people coming back on loan. Gallagher is more of a Mason Mount. Billy Gilmore is more of an N'Golo Kante. You don't have that pivot man outside of Jorginho. So, what do you do? I think if you can swing some kind of deal where you purchase Saul for 20 mil, because he's clearly not in Atletico's plans, I think absolutely you hold on to him. So Matt, again, cheers. I agree with you.
First time for everything.
I told you episode 28 was gonna be a good one.
Apparently the glass of bourbon I had before this helped.
I don't know. He's just not as dynamic as I wish he was. And he does all right in the role. Matt, you're shocked he's not dynamic? No? Yes, he's super dynamic.
I'm sorry. Name all the positions that Jorginho has played this year. Then name all the positions that Saul has played this year. You want to talk about dynamic?
I'm not talking about Jorginho.
It's a Matt versus Parker episode.
Like,
I'm not.
You want to talk about dynamic?
I'm not comparing him. I'm talking to Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who played center back, right back, right wing back, and midfielder.
You're trusting a right footer as your left wing back, or your left back, or anything. I'm like, all right, sorry. Let me digress. I'm with you on RLC as a central holding mid. I'm with you on that. He's got the strength. He's got the size. I don't see the full-blown distribution that I would see out of somebody in a Jorginho type role out of RLC like I do in Saul. Which in Tuchel's system you need that pivot. I don't see RLC as that pivot. He can do it on occasion, but I don't see that as his primary role.
The thing I think he does better than others do is he can get the ball and not necessarily pass it right away, but he can hold on to the ball and like make a move that sort of relieves that pressure with his own doing, instead of just having to pass right away. I think he can hold. He's almost like a hold up striker, but in that midfield kind of a role. I think that's what he does really well. I'm not comparing Saul to Jorginho, and I'm not talking about Saul as a replacement to Jorginho. That's what y'all were talking about. I was talking about the fact that we've got a guy who kind of looks and feels a lot like that in Loftus-Cheek. Now he's on the right side. He's better on the right side than the left side. So you could make the argument that both are necessary, one for the left, one for the right, and that's a fine argument. I've just been underwhelmed a lot more than I've been surprised or happy with how Saul was played. And I get my main point about Saul is the fact that you can go roll the dice with someone else. The way I look at it is like, we rolled the dice with Kovacic. We won. We fucking won. We won huge. We absolutely knocked it out of the park. We rolled the dice with Saul in kind of a same loany to buy sort of situation. We didn't win. Okay. We're fine. We don't have to buy him. We don't have to take up the option. Let's try again. Let's look for the next kind of guy that looks like this, feels like this, and I would much rather try someone else than to go to what I know. This is a situation for me where I feel like the grass might be greener on the other side, and I don't want to water the grass that I've got growing here.
So I would say that RLC, and again, in what I've seen, for everything that he does well, he has huge mistakes. And he's 25, so relatively young in the football world, but not exactly. Like, he should like know what to do.
Yep.
The fact that he gets dispossessed often with his size, his strength, and the positions that he's in, I trust Saul in that more than I do RLC. Like, to me, it's hard. Like, I don't want to say RLC has hit his ceiling, but it seems like it's getting pretty close. And I think we know what we're going to get out of Saul, at least recently, right? Early on, we were fucking Saul, get the fuck out of here. Like, we were all on board with that. He's come into his own. He's very versatile, just like RLC, but he's more consistent, I think, than RLC. Like, you can be consistent as all hell, but if you constantly give up big chances, or you constantly give up that ball in the midfield when teams are on the press, that's going to be dangerous. And we've seen it happen before. And I like the experience and the consistency of Saul and his versatility going forward.
If we're comparing those two,
Oh,
I feel like
you have stats, don't you?
no, I don't. I don't have stats. Every
Well,
time
why
you say
not?
that I have stats, I don't have stats. So stop.
Why
that.
not?
Because I don't care that much.
He's doing other things.
But when when you compare RLC and Saul, honestly, it just comes down to erratic versus not erratic. RLC is very, it could go anywhere at any time, doing anything, dribbling, passing, crossing, like you never know what he's going to do. Saul, you know what he's going to do. Saul, you know he's very calm, but you'd like to think he's calm, kind of collected. There's more predictability with Saul. With RLC, it's very erratic. It's there's a lot of changing variables with that. So I think it comes down to what you prefer, honestly. And if you're going to compare those two, if you're going to say one has to go, one doesn't, like, so what does Tuchel prefer? I don't know.
High risk, high reward.
And it depends on what you're running. It depends on like who else is around him. Sometimes the right guy in the right position with the wrong people around him feeding him the ball just doesn't work, right? We've seen that a lot with what does Jorginho look like and what's his best position. And sometimes he looks like a rock star and sometimes he looks fucking lost. So I completely agree with that. And I'm not designing this team. So I don't know.
So Matt,
I would kind of vote if for me, like when they're even too, I vote for the academy kid.
That's fair. Matt, Saudi Media Group, you want them?
They can fuck right off. All right. We're just fucking flying right now. So Collins, we're gonna get after it. I know this is the time you've been waiting for. So Saudi Arabia dispatch of 91 or sorry executed, let me use the right terminology, executed 81 people in Yemen. And we're going to talk about how Newcastle, bought by the Prince of Saudi Arabia, vetted through all the processes, done its due diligence, and they're going to buy a club. Yet, Roman Abramovich, he has a steel factory in Russia that is accused, there's no proof, accused of supplying everything to Russia as far as steel goes for their invasion of Ukraine. And we're going to seize every single one of his assets, including Chelsea Football Club, which they have no direct ties of going to Putin. Yeah, we're just going to halt everything. Man of the Get the Fuck Out of Here award goes to the UK government.
Boris,
go fuck yourself.
Good row.
Oh,
I'm sure.
Just quick note. Boris is our back-to-back Man of the Get the Fuck Out of Here win. So
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. 2 in a row.
We've all talked about this. Roman is guilty by association. Like he's guilty by association. Specifically when it comes to Chelsea. You're freezing all of his assets. Since when has the club given Putin money to fund this war? When? Oh, and the NBC sports writer, David, whatever his nuts is, like Osper, like Epstein or whatever the fuck his name is. You can go fuck yourself. I'm sure he's a good journalist. I'm sure he is. However, his report today on everything going on with Chelsea, he never mentioned. He was talking about how crippling everything is to Chelsea, which, granted, it is. He had flat out said, yeah, the money that he gets from the sale is going to the war victims. No. Roman has flat out said it's going to the Ukrainian victims of the war. Second of all, the fact that you're talking about how, oh yeah, well, players' salaries are going to take hits and they don't know if they have enough to pay salaries, whatever. A report came out numerous times on multiple outlets that the academy players, so your Reeses, your Mounts, your Trevs, they're fine to give up their salary in order to support the club. And that's going to pay back probably about $1 million a month. And you're just going to kind of coast that off like it doesn't exist. Get the fuck out of here. Like, I'm fucking over all this shit. Collins, I'm on board. I am on board with the conspiracy around Chelsea. I have been very on the fence, very borderline. I am with you. This is absolute horseshit. When you look at Newcastle, when you look at everything that's been going on with Everton, nobody says shit about fucking Everton. Not a goddamn word. And the owner or part owner, whatever he is even closer to Putin than Roman is. Not a fucking word is said about that. It's just, oh, yeah, we're good. Yeah, they're fine. Why? Because they're close to relegation. It's a top 6 club that is borderline relegation. And they lost today, which is even better. It is a complete and fucking utter disaster what the UK government, what the Premier League, what everybody is doing against Chelsea. Collins?
Oh, Matt. Oh. So well spoken. Love it. Just some things to add on there to talk about the hypocrisy, the conspiracy. The United Kingdom announced that they were going to be banning Russian oil and Russian natural gas, but they were giving companies that were buying it in the UK 9 months to figure it out, how to switch it. But Chelsea, immediately funds cut. We're talking about refugees. We're talking about victims of the Ukrainian or the invasion of Ukraine. As of last week, the UK had only accepted about 250 refugees, the lowest of any country in Europe. What does it matter if we're giving money to the refugees? You don't give a fuck about them. Even people who have family members in the UK who are of Ukrainian descent, they were turning those people away. All this was for headlines. Ken Bates said it 100% correctly today, in that they're looking for a feel good. They're looking for the good headlines of, oh, the UK government came down hard on Russia. No, they didn't. It's honestly, you are hurting more people domestically than you are internationally with this. I've seen reports of people being laid off at the club shop within people who work in the stadium, stewards. Is any money going towards them? are they being reimbursed for lost wages? No, they're not. Is any of the sale proceeds going towards them? No, it's not. What are you doing here?
Collins, someone took care of those people when COVID hit. I can't remember his name. It evades me. Someone took care of those people and allowed them to stay at the Chelsea Hotel, the 4-star, hotel that's connected to Stamford Bridge.
Oh, wait. Even at Stamford Bridge, like they were allowed to get testing. Yes, they were allowed to get testing, free testing, as I remember, at some sort of ground.
And you know what? It's like a certain organization in London, West London, is fighting against racism and anti-Semitism that is very clearly being seen in the refugee crisis facing Europe right now, of not allowing Ukrainians cross borders. And
oh God.
Man, what a terrible owner of that organization.
I wish I knew. I really do.
It's a crock of shit. And to get back to the original question, and Matt, you touched on this for a little bit here, but Saudi Media Group, is that any better? It's not. If we're going to start looking at human rights abuses, if we're going to start looking at global geopolitical bullshit, like having a conglomerate from Saudi Arabia isn't any better. And Matt, you touched on it perfectly. They're executing people in Yemen in a war that, like, why are you involved in? They're all across the Middle East, exerting their power. And Yemen is the big one. There's accusations of genocide there. Who is a good owner at this point? You can't say the Chinese. You can't say anyone with money. No one from China, no one from Saudi Arabia. No one likes American owners. What is there? How is there a positive end game for Chelsea here? And there isn't, to be honest, because no matter how you look, and with the target that Chelsea has on its back, who's going to be allowed to buy this besides a British billionaire?
So the other thing is, like, and I will touch on it multiple times, how Newcastle owners got control of that club when the Prince of Saudi Arabia, in Saudi Arabia, just as of today, is accused of executing 81 people in Yemen. He's the prince. He knows what the fuck is going on.
And let's not forget about him authorizing the execution in a foreign country via a squad of assassins of a journalist who is writing about all about the human atrocities that Saudi Arabia is conducting, in Jamal Khashoggi. They authorized his execution in Turkey with a hit squad. It's such a double standard. It's ridiculous.
So you're telling me that genocide is okay, and yeah, we'll take you up on, oh yeah, you want to buy this failing Premier League club, right? I think that's the key word, failing Premier League club. We all know Mike Ashley was an asshole. Like, we all know that. He was an absolute dickhead. And oh, well, now we got new money coming in, which I guarantee you most of that is probably going to the Premier League or to the UK government. And now you're like, oh yeah, we're good. Yeah, don't worry about anything. But then this war starts, which, again, diligence, none of us are in favor of. Like, we're very peaceful people. But then you're going to come after a Russian who owns a football club in your country that has done damn near nothing wrong as far as he's owned the club, he has done nothing wrong. Yeah, he maybe has a steel factory as one of his assets. Fine. Suspend accounts on that. You're talking about not even a domestic, but an international club that has profitability all over the place, which, let's be honest, it's probably feeding into the UK government at some rate, and you're going to suspend that. What club besides City and United are bigger than Chelsea? What clubs?
And we all went to UW Oshkosh, right? So we're all familiar with Oshkosh Corp.
Yep.
Oshkosh Defense, division of Oshkosh Corp, one of the biggest suppliers to the U.S. military ever. And I'm fortunate I work for a company that is a contractor for Oshkosh Defense. And I can tell you that those government contracts are very lucrative. And I can only imagine what they are in Russia. I assume they are even more lucrative. So I just don't get it. You're asking a man who owns a steel factory to turn down a civil defense contract, which I'm sure is worth billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars.
They could buy Chelsea.
It's
Again, I go to the fact of it is guilty by association, and I have a hard time dealing with that, and the fact that, and it's not like this has been years in the making. No, this was recent. This was in, I believe, December, maybe January, that the Saudi prince and his conglomerate, or whatever you want to call it, took over Newcastle. And it was vetted out that it would not be a part of Saudi government relations. If that's the case, why the fuck are you coming at Chelsea?
So laughable. It's just so laughable.
What fucking premise do you have? Oh, because he's Russian? He has ties to Putin? Yeah, he did.
You mean one of the 20 richest men in the country doesn't have connections to the leader of that country?
No
way.
No, I would never say that.
Yeah.
It's just a crock of shit.
Parks, go ahead.
No, for me, it's just the hypocrisy. We talked about this a little bit on the pre-pod. It's just the hypocrisy of the whole issue, and we laugh and we joke about refs being consistent. We can deal with shitty refs as long as they're consistent. We prefer good refs, but if you're going to enforce rules, you sort of just expect them to be across the board, and it's just so hilarious that Newcastle has new ownership this year, the year that this all happens, that we're the ones under fire, that we're the ones that have the evil dictatorship owner, and I see just I see so much misreporting of the situation that really just pisses me off. That's the quickest way to get under my skin, is when you misreport facts in headlines to really get at it, where it's now Roman Abramovich won't be able to profit off of the sale. Wasn't trying to. Did you read his first fucking statement where he said that he was donating all of the proceeds to a charity? It's literal bad. Matt, you gave credit for a good journalism. That's bad journalism right there. It's just bad journalism. You didn't read the first statement then, because he wasn't trying to. He literally said that. So, and then FIFA. Then you get to FIFA. And like, if you guys thought the Premier League was fucked, man, this organization called FIFA, they really don't care about anything ever. They just are the most corrupt organization I've ever seen and that I've ever talked about publicly. And wow, like they're building stadiums with slave labor and people are dying every single day to force a World Cup in not the month that a World Cup is supposed to happen because it's in Qatar and the average temperature in the Qatari summer is like 130 degrees Fahrenheit. What the fuck are we doing? So we have to do it in the winter, and that screws up everyone's season, but that's okay because it's good for the sport apparently or something. And we have to force this in because someone paid someone under the table or over the table, I don't know at this point, but someone paid somebody so that they can do this. And in this like sport that's rich with corruption and greed and money and power and none of it's legitimate at all. Like this is what gets headlines. This, not like slave labor and people dying every day to build stadiums in Qatar, which gets like some media and news, but like not enough because people should be boycotting the World Cup that's coming up. People should be like protesting about the World Cup that's coming up, but no one's talking about that. People are talking about World Cup qualifying and not that. And like, I've gone back and forth as a human, like talking about, should I even watch it? And I don't know what the right answer is, man. Like, I don't know, because I'm a soccer fan and I'm a US fan and I'm a fan of the sport. I kind of cover the sport. And I want to watch it, but at the same time, it's disgusting what's happening. And it sucks to like feel like you're at least a little part of it by even watching it. And this is just me venting now. Like
this is my favorite pod after dark because we got Parker going. And normally Parker is the sensible one in pod after dark. No, normally you're the mediator, but we got you going. I love this. This is great.
I am going, man.
Parker, what's the logo on your sleeve?
This one?
Yeah, that one. For people who can't see, what is that?
Oh, it's at Hyundai.
Oh, Hyundai. Yeah, they by the way, they are the ones who are also, in addition to 3, suspending sponsorship of Chelsea Football Club. But by the way, they were the official car of the 2018 World Cup, which was hosted where? Russia. What, like, I feel like if we weren't Chelsea fans, it'd be different. But then also a part of me is like, well, if you think rationally about all of this, it's ridiculous. The double standards of everything. I'm going back and forth right now on Facebook with fucking GFOPs of the Men in Blazers show, which I'm done with. Fuck the Men in Blazers at this point. About they had a post today about, oh, there's a Roman Abramovich banner hanging at Stamford Bridge. Like, yeah, no shit, there is. He's the most successful owner in Chelsea history. He brought us 21 trophies in 19 years. Prior to that, we had probably 21 trophies in about 100 years. Like, fuck off. Of course there's a goddamn banner to him. We chanted his name once that I heard on TV in 66th minute, and it was quickly tuned out. Quickly they changed the chant to something else. Dude, Raj Bennett, get off your fucking high horse. At this point, you're supporting a club that was, as Matt said, supported by Usmanov, which is not being sanctioned. And Usmanov has a very close relationship with Putin, is very vocal about his closeness to Putin. And the only reason they're getting off scotch-free is because they're going to get relegated this year. So fuck right off. Men in Blazers can fucking eat a dick at this point.
I will say Raj Bennett can eat a dick. I don't know about I haven't listened to anything recently with Michael Davies. I know he's a Chelsea fan, so I'll give him that pass. Raj, no. Sorry.
So
Sorry.
Let me ask this because
Yeah.
I listened to their emergency pod and I've listened to their pod after that, and that's the last episode I'm ever going to listen to. Raj talks specifically about sport washing with Chelsea. We've heard sport washing in the past with owners of, let's just say Kim Jong-il owned a club, and that would be sports washing. Trying to make the perception of you or your country or your leadership be better because you own a sports club. Parker, let me ask you this. In the time that you've been a Chelsea fan, which it has all been under Roman Abramovich, have you ever associated Chelsea with Russia?
Well, point blank, no. Like, obviously, I know that we have a Russian owner, but it really is stopped at that. Like, that is the only association that Chelsea has ever had to the country. Like, it's classic. Like, when you watch it, are you like riddled with like Russia advertisements? Like, support Russia, this, that, like Russian companies, Russian corps, Russian this, Russian that. Like, no. It's companies like 3 that are on this fucking jersey that they back out. Like, those are the companies that we see and that we hear about, and fuck them, but that's a different topic at this stage. But like, look, I get the concept of sport washing, that being the face of an ownership has the ability to alleviate other perspectives of you. Now, the only perspective I have of Roman is the owner of Chelsea, so that's all I get. And I didn't have a preconceived notion of him, so he wasn't being washed of anything. That said, I see it from a different light now, like seeing some of the other money that comes in, and I can understand the concept of, no, look at me, I'm owner, like I'm doing good for the club, so don't worry about all these murders and atrocities that I commit over here, focus over here, right? I get the concept. I'm not stupid, right? Like, we're not dumb people, man. We're not. That said, and look, I could be completely wrong about this. In 30 years, I could be reading about all of the shit that happened that I didn't know about. And I could be completely wrong here. But everything that I've seen, everything that I've read, all of the good that's come, Roman Abramovich made his wealth the way he made his wealth. He's an oligarch. He has invested in companies. He's a successful businessman. And the way he has run the company, right, the way he's run the club, is nothing short of fantastic. I mean, when you can see like the heartfelt speeches that John Terry give on his last day at Stamford Bridge, thanking Roman Abramovich, calling him the best owner in English football, things like that. Like, I trust John Terry. I trust that, he knows what he's talking about a little bit here. And I trust that. I don't know what I guess what I'm trying to say, but all I've seen, all I've read, all that I know that's in front of me, and it's multiple stats and multiple different sources of things, that Roman's in here for the right reasons. He may not have gotten to where he has gotten for all the right reasons, but no one that makes billions of dollars probably ever has either. So like, you can question every single fucking billionaire on the planet, and you look at like Bill Gates or Steve Jobs or whoever. Have they fucked people over in the past? Yeah, they have. Have they talked ill about people? Yeah, they're cutthroat. They're businessmen. Like, you can micro pick any single situation in any different government legislation, whatever you want to call it. You can do whatever you want. But all I'm judging it on is what I've seen with him at the helm, and it's been positive. He's doing good for the community. He's doing good for London, for West London, and the citizens, the club, the name, the brand has grown in value. And that's like something that's not really talked about, because you and I talk about it a lot with brand valuation, because if you buy the Lakers, it's almost like a guaranteed you're going to make money on your investment because the brand appreciates in value, right? Like, or the Patriots or the Packers, whoever. Soccer is not the same because soccer valuation doesn't work like that. It's not name brand recognition the same way. So you're not buying a team for the same like instant return on profit the same way that you would be any other club in the world. The one point that Raj Bennett made that I actually laughed and agreed about was if 2 billion or if a billionaire is looking at buying Chelsea or buying any other franchise, he's probably picking some other franchise because guaranteed fucking investment, guaranteed making money because it's hard to win in the Premier League. It's hard to make money there because you have to spend money to win. It's not guaranteed. You're not bringing that franchise valuation doesn't go up tenfold over 40 years. Not the same. We're not talking about the same stuff here. And that's why I believe like whoever invests in it, I hope they're in the right reasons. I hope they're in it for the long haul. I don't want to have this conversation in 5 years. I'm done. That's I've ranted enough.
See, and that's what I'm getting at with the original question is, I don't want to have this conversation in 5 years. I don't want to have this conversation with Saudi Media Group when, this whole Russia-Ukraine thing is over. And then Saudi Arabia, invades Israel or invades, anyone in the Middle East. And it's like, at what point are we going to measure every controversial owner on the same level? Because Newcastle shouldn't have been allowed to be purchased by the Saudi crown prince. But the precedence was set with Roman Abramovich in the early 2000s, where it was, maybe the money may have been a little shady, as it is with all oligarchs, with the switch from the Soviet Union to Russia. And God, again, I could preach for a whole hour on that. By the way, side note, I'm loving all of this because I love that my Russian history degree is meaning something at this point. So if you do ever have any questions about Russian history, please feel free to DM me at Comiskey North. But it's like, at what point are we just going to say, these are the rules for ownership? These are the things that you have to pass. These are the rules. These are the tests that you have to pass. And if you pass them, fine. If you don't, fine. But once you're in, you're in. Like, it's a crack of shit because Saudi media is one of the bidders. It's like, well, how much are they involved in the Saudi government and all of that? And Matt had his hands up. Matt, you're next.
How many Saudi and Yemen players do you know offhand?
Ooh, I know a couple because you and me have played it as a Saudi team in FIFA.
Rhetorical question. How many Russian and Ukrainian players do you know that play in the Premier League or that you have heard of from a global standpoint?
Affiliate enough.
It comes down to who, like, it boils down to media, right? Russia has a respectable soccer community. So does Ukraine, right? Alexander Zinchenko from Man City, also owned by Saudis. And then you look at like today, Yarmolenko scored the goal for, I believe it was West Ham. Yeah, West Ham. He's Ukrainian. And that was a huge moment for him. Like they advertised the shit out of that, which it should be. Like, he scored a goal. He took, I believe it was 3 weeks off to kind of like relish in relish is not the right word. but to just kind of grasp the magnitude of what was going on. The club gave him 3 weeks to like kind of understand everything and let him process everything and deal with everything. Then he comes on and scores a goal, and like that's the main headline. Like, he scored the goal, he started crying, right? He was crying on the pitch. Are you ever going to see a Saudi or somebody from Yemen in the Premier League ever? I would say doubtful. That's kind of how I would look at it. And with everything going on with Saudi Arabia and Yemen, do you think it would have gotten the same headlines? No, not a shot in hell. I think it has to do with the magnitude and the countries that are involved that are causing this whole thing, which I think is an absolute crock of shit. And I think, and well, honestly, we all know it's been going on for a long time in smaller countries for fucking years. And you're going to tell me, oh, because Russia, a very predominant country, is going to invade Ukraine, you're telling me that that's more important than what's been going on with Saudi Arabia? You're really going to tell me that? And then when you're looking at the British government, well, you have players from Russia, you have players from Ukraine. Well, we have to make this look good, so we're going to focus on, you know, the people from Ukraine and, you know, people from Russia, like them coming together, like what happened. I believe it was Zinchenko and Yarmolenko. I think they came together at the touchline probably a week ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that. And the crowd was going nuts. Like, it all has to do with where people are from. And at the end of the day, which we've said with all professional sports, where's your money coming from? Zinchenko, Ukraine, starting left back for Man City, one of the biggest clubs in the world. And then you look at Yarmolenko, Ukrainian, playing for a top 10 team in the Premier League. Took time off to process everything and do everything like that. Why is that getting more attention than what's going on elsewhere? Oh, I know why. Because you don't have players from that league, or at least players from Saudi Arabia, from Yemen in the Premier League.
I'm all potted out.